watched the was it on Hulu, the I Love You Now Die, which is what's her name? Michelle
Michelle Carter,
Carter, yes, and I have no
Conrad
clue what
Roy.
Conrad Roy, yes, the most white fucking name you could ever have.
Fucking Conrad. I
Most
bet his full
most
name is.
New England
I bet his full name is Conrad Connor Roy or Tanner.
Tanner. Yes, Tanner. Or you've got to have like an Ian in there, which
Oh goodness, it's
spelled
hyphenated.
the IAN. Yeah. Tanner Ian. Conrad Tanner Ian Roy.
Oh, what a
And then what was he? The third?
yeah, yeah.
Conrad Roy the third. So
Hmm.
it's a long line of great, strong, masculine Conrads. But I watched it a few weeks ago, so I'm a little bit rusty on it. But you watched it last night, and what did you see?
Okay, so it's two parts, right?
Yeah.
And like last night, so I watched the whole entire first half, and they pretty much explained like her and her family side, and then like the Conrad's family side. So at the end of the first half, I go to like write something down and just like to look over what I wrote down, and I was kind of tearing up a little bit because I was just like, oh my god, like, because some of it seems like a misunderstood thing, and then like it's heinous, and then like you learn that like both of these kids are on fucking Prozac since like they pretty
Yes.
much hit puberty, and I was just
Exactly.
yeah, I was like, man, this is fucking tragic, and I looked down, and then the first thing I wrote was high school voted most likely to brighten your day. That's the first thing that I wrote down when I was writing, when I first started when I first started the fucking documentary. And by the end of the first part, I'm tearing up, and I looked down, and that's the first thing I saw, and I was crying. I was crying, laughing. Those tears turned into tears of laughter, because fucking it was so tragic. Not that like okay, what happened wasn't funny, but it's just like the pure irony of just like
They voted him to his death, basically. And
she technically brightened. Well, she gave him what he wanted. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, she was his yes man, I guess.
Yeah, she was just
Which,
kind of like an angel of death.
well, and the weird thing to me was like she's painted as this horrible, horrible person, which, like I said, when I watched it, I ended up still with so many fucking questions at the end of it. Like, I get why everybody wants her charged for this and then because she, didn't notify people. But then again, it goes through the whole thing of like didn't he say like don't tell anybody or I'll fucking do it or I'll not talk to you ever again, that type of shit.
Yeah, like he like some sort of threat, but he was just like, don't you fucking tell anybody or else XYZ consequence. And so those two kids on Prozac were literally just in their own world that they had built for
Yes.
themselves.
And there was a point when she turned because they brought up when he said to her that he spent like the week in the hospital because, he tried to kill himself. And she was like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
And the messages. And then at just one point, like, I'm assuming it was after all the, don't tell anybody this. I still think this. Nobody wants me around and all that. Like her mental state of, like, they pointed out kind of, she needed attention, basically.
Hmm.
And he seemed to be the only one who was giving her attention because they go into the fact of she never hung out with friends or any of that stuff.
Hmm.
And they all, basically blew her off as lying and all that.
Dude, hard. Those girls fucking
Oh
swerved her hard. I felt bad.
man, in court too.
Oh, oh,
I had
that
no intentions
girl.
on hanging out with her. Were you
Ooh,
guys friends at all? No. It's like, oh
oh.
shit.
And she just had
Oh,
to
and
sit there, friend after friend, and then look at them say this shit. That was fucking
and
rough.
and on top of that, it's now in a documentary that she was telling people that she was in a romantic relationship with some girl who refused to comment at all about it in the documentary. She refused to be in it. That what was her, Alice or whatever it was?
Alice, yeah.
Yeah, and her mom was even like, "No, there was nothing like that going on."
Yeah, I don't like, I'm not sure if that's true or not. I mean, I
Yeah,
didn't know if that was true or not. Like, cause like I understand, like especially like as a mom or whatever. Like, if my daughter had nothing to do with something and her ex went off and like killed somebody, I would go to that person. I would, I'd be like, hey, like, don't fucking whatever I have to say to make you
yeah,
not come to us again. Like, please fuck off. So like I don't know if I kind of believe that happened. I don't think that she like made everything up. I don't know if they had sex or anything, but like I don't think that she made that like whirlwind romance up.
ah, yeah. That's I guess that could be true too. And
Yeah.
the mom and her are trying to cover it up to save their clout in the New England society
Yeah.
among
And
among the
honestly like
Conrads.
all the Conrad, Ian Tanner or fucking whatever.
Tannerians,
Yeah. And also, like,
Tannerians.
since that girl was like out at the time, or I mean, since I mean she was a teenager, so she probably wasn't even out, or she probably
Yeah,
isn't out like still to her mom. So like, there's so many questions about that whole thing where it's just like I think that's completely plausible, and so I kind of felt bad when it was just like, oh, and remember towards the end, like when they showed those texts of her like texting her friends, like, yeah, I don't know if it was rape or whatever, but he kind of just shoved his dick in me, and I didn't want him to get
yes,
upset, so I just let him do it, so he didn't get mad. And then she texts people that, and no one gave a shit.
yeah,
And then like they're like, no, we're not friends, and then just I felt fucking bad, and Alice denying it. I don't know. I fucking felt bad for her. Yeah, I
yeah.
could
I
see
mean,
how
it
she's
does.
just. Hmm.
There's like during this, there's different points of it where you're like, holy shit, this girl's fucking vindictive, or and then there's other parts where you're like, wait a minute, like there's something just mentally wrong,
Right.
and all the other circumstances of it, like you're saying, like with her friend, her quote unquote friends, that didn't believe a word she said about anything.
Yeah, that's fucking tragic.
And then, that I don't think that the doctor proved his point good enough about them both being on drugs and
Involuntarily intoxicated.
yeah,
Intoxication.
yeah, yeah, because I think one of the ladies was saying that it's kind of a newer term type, not used very often and kind of misunderstood or whatever. And maybe it should be looked into more, especially with like giving drugs and shit like that to younger kids. I mean, even
Thank you. They don't have a
adolescents,
say.
teenagers. Yeah.
They have to
And
do it.
they're also, they're developing, at the same time, which, not saying that drugs don't affect older people really fucked up, but and a younger kid, I mean, that could permanently fuck them up. Like,
Absolutely.
especially if they start thinking one way and then they're like, oh, well, this is how it's supposed to be. They're just being told by a parent or a doctor, no, that's normal, you know.
Exactly. That's
And
so
then
dangerous.
suicidal thoughts. I mean, isn't that one of the fucking? you know, major side effects of a lot of shit anyways. Like
Yeah,
they,
and it's crazy. Like if suicidal thought, I mean, that's the perfect fucking storm for like what happened because it's just like, well, I mean, when I was like 11, 12, 13, whenever you become socially conscious and like you're fucking start turning to a horny teenager, I wanted to kill myself all the time. I didn't do it, but I mean, I already had those fucking thoughts in my head where I was just like, did I just trip and fall in the cafeteria? When I get home, I'm going to drown myself in
slitting
the
these fucking
bathtub.
wrists.
So
No
it's
one will
just.
ever remember that. They'll remember that I killed myself, not that I fell in the fucking cafeteria
And
and
they'll
got
all
mashed
feel
potatoes all over my shirt.
and they'll all feel bad for laughing. Like that's the shit that would go in my head. So
They'll
like
all
I'm
regret laughing at me in a group.
like
I'll show those
I
fuckers.
showed them. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
dead. I showed them. But like I but I don't like I'm so glad that I feel like I was like one of the last generations because like I mean flip phones had just come out and it was really just like the
Yeah.
rich kids that had them, you know, when I was in high school. So there wasn't, I don't know, we didn't look at our screens as much and we weren't fucking like we had Adderall and Ritalin and stuff, but like prescribing
It
Prozac
wasn't.
and shit to yeah, it wasn't anything
Yeah.
like that. So like if I was at that age and I did trip and fall in the cafeteria and I knew I wanted to kill myself, if I was on fucking like Prozac or I don't know, it's just like that's a weird age to give a kid a drug that they might want to commit suicide because there is a whirlwind going inside. They don't know what's happening sober, you know, so it's just
Yeah.
like there's all these emotions and shit like that, so you get swept up and you're staring at your screen all day. She was into that Glee show or whatever. She just has this fairy
Oh
tale
yes, I
shit.
forgot all about that.
Yeah, she just has this fairy tale shit that she built up in her head on these fucking drugs while she's developing as a woman, and she thinks, you know, if I love him, I'd do this for him. You know, like it's just like, well, don't. Why was she on Prozac? Why were these kids on these
Yeah,
drugs?
like I think, like you're saying, the drugs gave them both the ability to kind of live in their own little fucking world about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, even the mom said, which I kind of see her as a type that maybe didn't pay a whole lot of attention to him because he was a little bit older at the
Mm-hmm.
time. But I'm not gonna falter on that because having kids myself, like once they get to, like my kids, are just turning teenage, and they really do just fucking go do their thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've raised stepkids, and as soon as they hit their teenage years, you might not fucking see them till bedtime. And it's like, okay, whatever. I know you're not dead, and like
Right.
with cell phones, I could reach you anytime, or that type of shit. Which also probably goes to the fact that you're saying like you can helicopter parent without doing any of the helicopter parenting, just having a phone, and it all turns into a text message of, hey, how you doing, and all they have to send back is, oh, I'm good, and you believe it. You know what I mean? You don't hear a voice on it. You don't pick up on any of the little nuances of, oh, well, they're acting a little
Any sort
strange.
of stress or anything.
Yeah. And so, like, I think it was also brought up in the documentary of how these days, like, everybody is, I mean, basically, relationships are lived out through birth to death of the relationship is online. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just all through a fucking screen. I mean, going back to the whole Glee thing,
Mm-hmm.
like, that might have been, like, when the one guy killed himself, I believe, was kind of the point where didn't she start at that point kind of just going along with it more and more?
Yeah, yeah. She built this like fantasy thing, and she just like switched and was like, oh, you should do it like this.
Yeah, and she was giving him like ideas of it,
Mm-hmm.
which was, I mean, it's really fucking weird to read that type of shit, but then if you put yourself in like her place or whatever, that's what he wanted to hear at the time, and because he was really, I don't want to sound like I'm taking her side on it,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I feel
but
you.
like,
This is it's hard. It's hard to like talk about it without sounding like you're taking one side or the other.
yeah,
I
because
totally get that.
also at the end, like, I don't know how much, like, she didn't get much time,
Two
like,
and a half
really,
years, and she really just had to
yeah,
serve 15 months, if that.
yeah. So I mean, in the end, it wasn't, you know, terrible because she's only what, 20.
Yeah, but also remember both the family, like a few members wrote and was just like, "Hey, we agree with the doctor. Like, we think that she wasn't in the right frame of mind. She's still young. She can learn. We don't think she's a danger to society." Like, so them writing those letters because she was sentenced 20 years,
Yes,
and then
she
they
could get up
wrote,
to 20 for it, yeah.
yeah,
Which honestly, 20, that's a fucking lot because you should probably write that time down and we can cut that out or whatever just so we remember.
okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
Or Producer May. I'm gonna send it to the
Producer,
May box.
you
But
are
like,
ridiculous.
her lawyer kind of, oh, what the fuck was I saying? Now I don't remember.
Um,
Uh,
what point were we talking about? We were talking about we weren't talking about the parents. We were talking about
about, him doing it anyway. Like whether or not she was on the phone, like
oh yeah, whether
he would have, if he didn't succeed at this one. I mean, it's like the fifth time that he would have tried it. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Like he would just keep trying over and over again. But like, I agree kind of with the judge on the part where she told him get back in the truck and that type of shit. Which I guess that's kind of all hearsay because that's what she, like, we're gonna believe. We don't really believe any of the shit that she said, right? Like text
mm-hmm,
message wise, because all of her friends said, it's a lie. And then she also said that, he raped her in a way and that
mm-hmm.
type of stuff. And then she was literally quoting like Glee
Right,
in
yeah,
in that girl's statements.
mm-hmm.
And then like, but the judge and everybody's willing to believe that when she told a friend, I told him to get back in the fucking truck, they're willing to believe that part, which is
Thank you.
kind of like throws up a red flag to me in a way. But then again, with her being the whole, I want attention and stuff because they talked about that a lot. They
Why
talk about
wouldn't
that a
she
lot
make a
too.
dramatic statement like that? Why wouldn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah. I mean, and I don't know. It's just so
It's
much
really weird what
iffiness
they
about
cherry
it.
pick. Like, okay, we believe her when she did say this. Like they'll cherry
Hmm.
pick just to like build a case against like whatever they're trying to spin in the media, and the media
Yeah,
follows it, and that's fucking. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm like 51-49 on like her and her family just not participating in the documentary whatsoever.
yeah,
It's just like I don't, but I'm not sure if it like. I think it helped in a way just because like I don't know. I'm really on the fence on like whether that helped them or not.
yeah. I don't think that the documentary was like a biased type thing towards one because, like I said, I came out with a lot of questions about stuff.
Hmm.
Like they, I think they did the best they could with basically only having his family, do any of it.
Yeah.
And of course they're going to be, on the one side of, hang her in the fucking streets. which I don't blame them. I would probably be the same fucking way if, my fucking kid killed himself and I found out all that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, not having her side really does leave a whole shitload of questions, like about her actions that we're only getting like her personality from her friends who seem to not really like her to begin with.
Yeah, really.
I mean, the only real little bit of person that seemed to have known her a little bit was, what was it? Was it his cousin? The girl that was talking about when they met, at her grandparents' house or whatever.
Yeah,
They
the
were
one with the
friends.
hoodie.
Yeah,
The
and
little husky. Go ahead.
a tiny bit. She might grow out of that phase. We don't know.
We don't
We're
know
not going to
that.
judge. We don't
No.
fat shame here because I'm
We
I'm
no
strict.
one said fat. We don't husky shame.
Yeah, okay,
She has
we
no,
don't
you know
husky
what?
shame.
She has a little bit of baby fat. You're right. It's just a little bit of baby fat and it goes
It
away in a couple of years.
it could just be all face because I mean they didn't really show anything but face and shoulders, so it could just
Mhm.
be face.
Mhm.
She might be a heavy drinker. We don't know.
We don't know any of that, yeah. just put those rumors, just start rumors and just put them out there.
That's where we need to go with this. We need a documentary about what the fuck is going on with the cousin of Conrad Roy the Third.
Start a petition, fucking send it to Trump and be like, hey, dude, executive order, like fucking fast track this. Or else what?
We need to know. Oh, and one other thing. Another thing I wanted to kind of bring up was her appearance. Like, did you notice when the Michelle, like in the very first trial, she was like, we'll say a little bit heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Little thicker.
yeah, and they showed the whole Nancy Grace. What is that puss on her face? That whole
Oh my
fucking.
god, yeah.
Uh, I wanted to fucking strangle her even more. But and then like as the trial like starts, she's like fucking rail thin and always
Yeah.
wearing heels, always dressed, dressed up, I would say, court clothing. And it really seems they tried to play it off like she was, she was this hot to trot type, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to use my looks to get this guy to do what he wants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then one of the one of the things that caught my attention was at the very end, her complete fucking change. I mean, she almost looked like she went full quote unquote lesbian for the very last, like the sentencing of it. Like had the shaved off hair and wearing like tennis shoes or like Converse shoes and jeans and just walked in like, fuck it.
Fuck.
Did you not see the end?
No, well, I was cooking dinner, like so
Ah,
I had it on my laptop while I was cooking. So like I heard, like I listened to the last, like I'll say 15 minutes of it. I didn't actually see what happened. I didn't see how she looked. I
oh,
just heard everything.
this is this is where we need, we need a guy on Google. He needs to be sitting in the fucking corner, and he needs to type in correctly, and we can bash his ass for typing stuff wrong. And he needs to pull up the clips so you can see the very end of it.
Michelle Carter,
Sentencing trial, yes.
sentencing. So do I put like picture?
Yeah, look for the image because at the very, how they always showed her like walking into the courtroom or whatever,
Yeah.
or walking up the, yeah, at the very end, I mean, it's a complete change. You
Oh,
see it?
wowzers! Yeah, I see. Man, she looks like a lesbian crypt keeper, or like a
Mm-hmm.
mortician. What is it? Yeah, mortician or something. I mean, but she's been through a lot. I'm not trying to like super bash her, but it's just like from beginning to end, like it's just like
Mm-hmm.
you can tell she's been through some shit.
Yeah, it just completely changes. And I don't know, like I'm thinking that the whole, her whole crack legal team was kind of behind the whole. We've got to, make her uh, trying to play on sex appeal. I would guess,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. Like I don't know how that would work out good in their favor. Like I would think it would be more towards the prosecution benefit of playing off, I guess that's why they didn't go for a jury trial either, though, because they did explain that the whole people kind of can't get over their first, impression of everything, anyways, in a jury
Mm-hmm.
trial. So
Yeah.
she would have basically been screwed to begin with. I don't know. Hopefully I don't sound like a complete fucking ignorant imbecile on all this because
Well,
my
also,
thoughts change on a lot of things.
yeah, and well, I also wanted to say earlier, something you said just made me think of this. Like after the switch, when he like was like, oh, you don't care about me, obviously, like I've been in the hospital for a week or whatever.
Yeah.
After that, and after he was like, don't you fucking tell anybody, he did make, he was adamant, like letting her know, like this is, I appreciate your words of encouragement, but I want to die, I'm going to do this. So it's
Yes.
like, and they made a point of like, well, she didn't want to lose him by like, like I don't want to annoy you and keep saying, hey, you have so much to live for, blah blah. It's just like, okay, if this is what you want, I love you, like let's talk about how, she didn't have any fucking friends, and it's just like, well, at least I'll have this, and
Yeah.
so she just built this world up in her head on drugs, like people. I think see, this is so fucking hard because like now I just sound like I'm completely like only on her side, but like I guess I just get,
Well, I mean, why
I
wouldn't
don't
you
think
be
it.
after watching videos of him talk about, turn the gears
Oh my god,
in his
dude.
horrible accent? I can see why it was all through text. But anyways, so you're
But
100% on her side, is what you're saying.
oh my fucking god, sir. But it's just like I what I don't think, that lady that was like, this is a new term and it's often misused. I think that she's a little misinformed, and I think she's not coming from a place, because none of us understand what these kids that are put on these drugs. None of us know what that is. We don't know
Yeah,
what any of
it's
that is. Like, this is a brand new fucking thing, and
yes,
so
even to
that's,
today it is.
yeah. So that's why like I agree with you when you were like that involuntary intoxication. It's just like those kids. They like, if those kids refuse medication, the doctor, I mean, the parents can put them wherever they want. Like, okay, well, go to the psych ward, go to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
There's going to be an adult around you that's going to force something down your throat. You're going to take these pills. So that's
Oh,
involuntary intoxication is absolutely the right thing in this case to use, and I think that that female doctor was completely wrong.
also, you just reminded me. Didn't they say something about she was in one of those like mental health facilities or something? That's why she was on that stuff, or was that
And
was
the
that him?
fuck, fuck, because I was in the beginning of the first one, so I think
It was
she
one of
did.
them though, wasn't it?
I think she did just one time, and then he was the one that tried to kill himself a bunch of times. I
Yeah,
think
so
they,
he was just on like the suicide watch type shit, but she was actually in one of those, which I'm sure after being in one of those facilities, like you said, you're gonna just take the fucking drug.
yeah, you have to, or else you get reprimanded. Like, no one likes to be in trouble. You have to take it, and that's
Yeah.
that's so. I don't see how that's not involuntary. Like I don't, I
Yeah.
and I'm not like refusing to believe. I'll listen to other people, but it's just like, this is a new thing. None of us know what any of these drugs do at that age because we have never been through it. So just to dismiss dismiss her whole entire side and that little kid was on drugs ever since she was fucking 14 is really sad.
Yep. I
It's weird to see how like adults come down on kids, you know, like it's fucking that's a weird savage thing to watch.
Well, and that's another thing though, is like this case didn't really. I don't know if it really made too many people think about like that aspect of it. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Kids are kids, you know.
Mhm.
Like I haven't. None of my kids or stepkids have been on anything. Like I'm sure that a couple of them would be like on bipolar type shit
Mhm.
if like that had been the case, but we made it through. I mean, they like what the hell did they do back in the fucking 40s and 50s? You just raised your fucking kids, you dealt with it, and whatever happens happens. I mean, in the end, everybody has their own fucking mind and they do whatever the fuck they want and they'll pay for their prices. But when you go altering shit with drugs, then it really throws some fucking loopholes for shit, I think.
Yeah, because you're totally still developing, and this is like a new stage. You know, like nobody thinks about love like that until like they're like a teenager, because like that's where sex comes in, and you have to figure out sex and love, and just all these like I don't know. There's so much.
Massive amounts of hormones.
Yeah, and you got to figure that shit out. And you got pimples, so you got to figure that fucking shit out. This girl won't
And you
talk to me
just
at school
tripped in the
anymore.
fucking cafeteria.
Everybody fucking saw it. Even the vice principal saw it. They were just laughing by themselves. So it was just like, really, nobody was on your side? Yeah. Not saying it happened to that girl. It certainly didn't
Regina's
happen
over.
to me.
Oh God! And then we forgot there's fucking phones everywhere, so it was probably fucking recorded.
Oh, that's all over YouTube. That's on the high
Oh
school
yeah.
Facebook page still to this day.
Oh yeah. Voted most likely to trip and fall on mashed potatoes. Bitch eats shit. It goes on World Star. Bitch eats shit off her shirt.
Voted most likely to be potato at lunch.
thought thought trips in cafeteria. She just gets labeled whatever.
Thought.
Yeah.
This poor girl.
And then or it just goes this bitch.
Ghetto bougie bitch trips in fucking blonde hair,
White
blue
girl,
eye.
please. We have definitely got to start with the Conrad royalty legacy beginning of whatever the hell that was that the grandpa was doing. I mean, he it seems like somebody came up to him and said, "Yeah, we're gonna have you talk a little bit about your grandson, and it's gonna be put on HBO in a documentary." And in his mind, it went straight to, "They're gonna make a movie about me." Like I want to see outtakes of the grandpa. So we've got two side documentaries we need. We need the husky cousin and the
Uh-huh.
grandpa, and there will be a third documentary coming up, you know, that we talk about with the dad. I mean, the whole thing with the grandpa about, I think he's too much of a fucking sailor. Like it was all just like folk. It was told like it was fucking sailor stories.
It fucking was. I don't even remember what song he was singing. I
I
can't.
I blocked it out. Like I
Like
watched the
childhood rape.
documentary. Yeah, I watched the documentary twice, and I completely blocked it out. Like he started singing, and it threw me to flashbacks of my grandma and great aunt singing fucking 1920s music, because everybody who's over 70 thinks they can sing.
Oh my god. Or like their voice has character to it now, or like they're all blues
Yeah.
singers. It's like, dude, you
Oh
can't.
yeah.
You're not Tom
And then,
Waits, or I don't know who he thought he was, but it was fucking. It was such a weird, uncomfortable fucking cause okay,
it was out
because
of nowhere.
because he wasn't. Yeah, you know what? Because it was just a cut. It was like whatever emotional thing was happening, and then cut to all of a sudden this fucking homie is, because he wasn't even looking at the camera and doing it. What
Uh-huh.
made me more uncomfortable is just like whoever was holding the camera, he didn't break eye contact with them,
With
and he
the
was
person.
so that person, that cameraman, that producer, whoever the fuck it was, just it got it. They
Oh,
got a full facial the entire
they
time.
got they got damaged that day. There is emotional damage watching that man
Lean
sing
back in
into your
his.
eyes. He's singing to your eyes about his dead grandson. Yeah, we used to sing that song to him every day as a baby, and then he starts breaking down. Oh
It was
shit, what's that?
that was my phone. It was
Come on,
like Connor
professional.
like Connor. I swear to God, I thought I put it on fucking silent because Twitter kept going off. It was like Connor cracked corn or something. It was one of those like just old
Oh,
like it was just one of those old fucking songs where you're just like, dude, why are you singing this old slave song and like putting your grandson's name in it?
that's what that's what us Conrads do.
Fucking yeah, we lean all the way back in our scooters and sing about dead family members in a
In
fucking
our
stranger's
in our
eyes.
in our hover round. Hover round.
Jesus Christ.
And
Oh my god, and that fuck. Oh, sorry.
was it? This will probably go into what you're about to say. I don't know for sure, but was it a cut straight from the dad doing his fucking horrible cry? Like that, I don't know what that cry was. Like his face just when he started crying, like I could see why his wife left him.
Oh my god, yeah, it wasn't there. I remember watching it and I was really fucking excited to message you that I had learned that in the first part of the second half, he was a battered husband.
Yes, a battered man,
And
which we
yeah.
will go into in future episodes, I am sure, about the battered men of America.
His wife didn't put up with that bullshit, and she
No.
went upside the right side of his face, I believe he said, and because it was in a police report, so he made a police report about it. The cops came to his house and said, "Hey, sir, what happened?" And he ran outside. He picked up his skirt and he ran outside barefoot into the arms of a
With
male
his heels
cop.
in hand,
Officer, please! And then he like lightly like touches the officer's chest and like
puts his ear to his chest, and I'm so glad you're here, sir.
romance novel.
She's a monster.
Oh my god.
And so it begins. That's probably what, you know, put 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 CR3, as Grandpa calls him, CR3, and it's probably what pushed him over the edge to not take no shit from Michelle. And he's like, "Bitch, I'm gonna do it. Don't talk me out of this. I'm not gonna be like my dad."
Yep.
And he went through with it
He
in
fucking
his
went through.
grandpa's truck.
That's not funny.
I'm, comedy, tragedy plus time or time, whatever the fuck.
Whatever the fucking formula is.
Yeah. So, I mean, us not being in the loop, I think our time goes a little quicker with it.
True that.
I couldn't do it. Like I could not the sound of that fucking pump running in my goddamn ear. Like I mow yards and I have earplugs and the sound of a fucking lawnmower engine running for hours at a time drives me fucking nuts. And to hear that in my ear while sitting in a closed pickup, I would just be like, okay, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I'd step out of the truck and walk into traffic before I fucking sat there breathing in, slowly dying, listening to that fucking noise.
He should have just wrapped his lips around the tailpipe instead. He really did take the long route.
And then he opened the door. Start over. Let
Oh.
all that bad air out. Jesus. No, no wonder she was pissed and said, "Get back in that fucking truck. Be a man, not like your dad." I guarantee you, that is where it all goes. Every woman has said to a man when she's pissed off, "You're just like your father."
She probably, because remember he did like a few times. I guess he would just be like, "All right, well tonight's the night. I'm out this earth. Peace, bitch." And she's like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, answer me." He did that all the time. So it's
And then
like
at 8 a.m.
she probably was
Yeah,
like,
and then at
"Hey,
8
what?"
a.m. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What?
I was gonna say, and then at 8 a.m. he's like, "Yo, what's up?" And then she's
Yeah,
just like, "God damn you, son of a bitch."
yeah. So yeah, 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 yeah.
So he didn't want to be a battered man. And then the mom, like I said before, I think she was just kind of in her own world about things, got there trying to get some, dick that she could beat.
She. Oh, okay. Also, like, oh, okay. I have a question because I think I just want to make sure I have the timeline chronologically right. So I think was one of the last things that happened. One of the last major things that happened, like a few weeks before, was like his dad fucking beat his ass, right? Like, remember he had like bruises out. Like his dad was fucking. I don't know if that kid just didn't have his hands up. I'm not trying to make like super fun of it, but it's just like, dude, you got hit directly in the same air, all in the face.
I
He
will
didn't put his hands up at all
that that brings up a whole nother thing. Like I don't know exactly what the timeline was on that ass whooping that he was served,
because he was
but the
18 when it did happen, so it had to have happened. You know.
yeah, and I mean, in a way, the dad really was kind of proud about beating his kid's ass, but
He was. That's what my dad did to me. So I'm like, hey man, if I say something, he was
I
shrugging a lot and like doing all that. But then like, I guess I don't know if he thought they were gonna cut it off right there and like just go to a next scene. But you could see the weight of his words crushing his
he
fucking
sat.
soul. Cause yeah, he was
Oh yeah.
bragging about beating his dead kid's ass, and I was like, you piece of shit.
Yep, and then he just sat. I mean, it sat there on him for like what 5, 10 seconds, and then
Oh. And that's how the first half ended, was him, his soul crushing. And it was just like,
yes,
you fucking shitty shit.
and I think what happened there is the dad probably saw the mom and his son, and he was not going to let it happen again. That battered man
That
stood up.
fucking Napoleon came out. Because I think his son was taller than him. Because his son looked like long limbs, like lanky, maybe taller.
Yeah, I think they even said he was like 6'3" or something. I can't remember that. I think they described him at one point.
Dad was
And
out
and
here looking like a little bitch in front of his girlfriend when he was like, hey,
yeah,
put this macaroni away. He was like, I'll do it later, bitch. That fucking came out.
to describe the dad, just think of anybody you've ever heard say clam chowder. Like he just looked it. He looked the part.
He
Like, I
was
mean,
a
you know,
manifestation, a
yeah,
physical
we're gonna beat our children's ass and do those other things. You know, that it's just
chowder.
chowder.
Oh my fucking god. Yeah, and probably uh, a deceptive 5'6", 5'7" or something. Like he looks five
Because
three on camera, but he's actually 5'6".
he was sitting pretty much the whole time. Like, I think the only scene they showed him standing up was after the grandpa sung and broke down, and the dad turned around and was staring off into the sea. Like, oh God, he did it. He fucking did it. They're gonna keep it in the documentary. I know they are.
Oh fuck, he's contemplating. He got the perfect moment. He got what he fucking wanted. I think that's what pissed me off about that scene, because it's just like, he was laying in bed like the night before, like, oh man, like I bet when they ask this question, I'm gonna choke up and I'm gonna look off into the sea. But his grandpa set it up for him, or his dad set it up for him. And it's just like everything just worked out in his fucking favor for that dumbass moment to happen, and I'm mad about it. He got exactly what the
Oh,
fuck he wanted.
oh, fuck, Dad, you're talking about, he did not go on a fucking recovery mission when he was a day old. You son of a bitch. And now you're singing a fucking song and he's just looking off into the sea like, why the fuck? Why couldn't it have been me?
Kinda crack corn and I don't care. Kinda crack corn. What the fuck? Dude, if you don't fucking motorize yourself into the house and fucking put some cheese on some Ritz crackers and
Crank that
serve
fucking
us.
crank that throttle, get your ass in there and get some fucking snacks, Dad. Come on. We got a fucking documentary here. This isn't about you. It's about CR3.
Oh my fucking god.
Oh,
Just,
I think we're
I mean,
coming off.
it seems like he
I
was
think
surrounded. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I
Go.
was gonna say, like, the reason I don't feel bad making fun of, like, at least like this family or whatever, like that side, is because, like, I don't. It seems like that boy was surrounded by a bunch of fucking narcissists. Is what it
Oh
seemed
yeah,
like. So it's just like, not only was he on these drugs, like he, not like he didn't have a chance or anything like that, but it's just like, and like there's like domestic abuse and shit like that all the time. Like this
yeah,
kid was around like violence and narcissism, so like fuck the grandfather. I mean, the mother seemed the most fucking hurt. The father seemed guilty, but I mean, but the mother seemed like genuinely fucking like she lost something, you know?
yeah. I mean,
Um,
she didn't. She stated that she didn't even like when they found him. She couldn't even go. Like, I mean,
yeah.
she came off probably the best out of the whole family of it.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah,
like
but
you,
those two, fuck them. I make fun of them all fucking day. That fucking
well,
grandfather and that dad.
well, and like you're saying, like the narcissism of it. I mean, I guarantee that fueled it because first off, he's on these drugs that I'm sure he just wants a little bit of attention. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then the fact that like he got his ass beat for probably saying that his stepmom's fucking baked clams sucked. And then he got his ass beat. You will not say that in my house, you boy.
Yeah, and she's right behind him, like, yeah, you fucking get it. Like, she's cheering the ass beating on, like, fucking, in that fucking accent, too. Damn.
uh, and
I,
and that's just got to add to his whole loneliness of it, which then you know he filters into the the Michelle girl who's taking all this, all his anger and unacceptance from his family out on her,
Right.
And so then, in a way, maybe she was like, yeah, maybe we should just get this over with so I can get out of this.
Yeah. I wouldn't fucking, and I could get a little something out of it. Like my friends will. I
Well, I
mean,
mean,
she did organize like some insane shit.
yeah,
Like she really
I
did
was
make it
just
her
gonna say
fucking
that.
own. She
She got
really
a whole
stepped into
fucking
that role.
tournament. She got a tournament organized. This bitch gets shit done.
She really, for somebody that has no friends, she
Yeah,
really fucking did her thing. She really did. And I
she's
respect
got a
her for that.
future. She's got a future when she gets out. I'll tell you
Event
that.
planning. That's what I want. I want her, anything that I have. I don't have a lot of money, but Michelle Carter, if I ever have
Uh-huh.
like a huge event, if we ever have a huge event, fucking like, you're the one. Please.
Oh yeah, she's definitely gonna, plan it. I
Yeah.
mean, she gets shit done. She got people to come from hours away to do this fucking tournament. Like nobody fucking knew the guy in that town, and they're like, "Oh, okay, sure." I don't know if
Sure, I
she
guess
was,
so.
don't know if she was blowing people or whatever she was doing. She gets the job done.
Maybe that's not funny.
No,
No, it's
no,
just, no, it literally wasn't.
no.
Like, because I was here, okay, I was literally just thinking about like the logistics of it. Like, well, she planned the event. Maybe she found a way to just get like some free sodas, or you know what I mean, like some free concession. It literally, like when I said it wasn't funny, like it wasn't a joke. Like it just was like me analyzing the situation. It
She
truly was
organized.
not funny.
She organized a party bus. She got a party bus to come down. She did
Oh,
have shirts made too, didn't she?
I what? Who were? I wonder if she did all that herself because like, or she had like whoever weren't her friends help her.
She did.
I'm really impressed with everything that she did. Really, in a short amount of time.
And then his Conrad's one friend who questioned like, "Why are you having it there? He's not from there." And she said, "Well, that's where I'm from." And he's just like, "Oh, okay." Like he just kind of gave into it. Like there must just be something about. She must have sent like some nudes with it. Been like, "Cause I'm here."
Well, she was saying stuff like, what was after? He was like, well, how are we supposed to make it? Or something like that. I don't know. But she responded with something like, um, oh, fuck, what did she say? Like, hey, you're not trying to steal my idea or take credit for my
Oh
idea,
yes,
haha. And it's just like, dude, girl,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
yeah. You're not gonna steal this from me, basically.
Yeah, that was a weird, yeah, that was weird. I didn't understand.
Which that all pointed into them, more about how she was kind of an attention seeker and all that other stuff. That was all in that whole section of the documentary.
Yeah, which, like,
Just
I mean, in her state, I'm just talking about like just like a teenager at that time, a desperate one in that state, like who's probably still under this like involuntary intoxication, or maybe she wasn't, but even so, she was on fucking Prozac. So
yeah,
she was probably numb to everything, and she was getting all this attention, and she was still at least manic. That sounds like a manic state, is what that sounds like. You know, like texting your mom, like, ha ha ha, nothing happened, but like your boyfriend died, dude.
yeah,
You know, like, so that sounds
yeah.
like a manic thing that a teenager on Prozac is going through. So it's like she was able to like detach and like make something, get something out of it. You know what I mean? Like, as shitty as it sounds, like she was able to turn it and get everything that she wanted from it. She got everything she wanted from that.
Well, and they also didn't really. Did they talk about like any? Did it, I don't know if they brought up like any of the fact that like her mourning of it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if she went through a mourning process of it. Did they bring that
I
up at all?
I don't remember
Because
them talking about that at all. And like I guess no, like
Like,
I guess that's why it was easy. Oh, that goes back to the point of that we were
of the
talking about
mom.
earlier. Well, of like, does it help or hurt, or
Oh
did it
yeah,
help or hurt, like that she or her family didn't participate because her friends were up there saying that she was just like remorseless and all this, and like she was perfectly fine and smiling and hanging out that night because she texted the girl the next night. It was like, hey, you want to hang out to get my mind off of it? So that makes her look awful. But it's just like, I feel like if we would have been able to speak to at least her a little bit, then she could have like said her side of the story of just like, well, I was crying the entire time. I wasn't laughing while I was texting him. I was crying till I
yeah,
was blue in the face, and I really did need to have somebody to talk to. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I think that it could have helped her with the remorse process because that is something that I'm curious about too. You know, like because when she was crying after the sentencing, like you know how you can tell it was just somebody's crying because like they're there and
because
they're
they got
sentenced and they
caught.
got caught. Yeah, but
Yeah,
like she looked really hurt. Like some of it did like she looked really hurt. So
yeah. Like the whole confusion kind of set in. You
yeah.
know, and that's another problem with the whole everything was based off of text because like you can jokingly say, "Oh God, I fucking hate you." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But if you type that out, "Oh God, I fucking hate you," it's not gonna get read. "Oh God, I fucking hate you." It's gonna get
Exactly.
read. "I fucking hate you." Like that's basically the first thing that unless you're in that conversation with the person, and like I mean, I'm sure that like I really doubt that the people that were quote unquote her friends allegedly, because I don't want to be sued,
Yeah.
but those people have no clue like on her tone of the text. So like you're saying, she could have been sitting there like all day fucking crying her eyes out about this shit, like, oh my God, he really fucking did it.
Yeah.
where like Whereas she was probably thinking in her head, he's not gonna fucking do it. He hasn't done it before. It's just gonna be another one of these kind of
Right.
attention grabs. But then she, the reality of it sank in, and she, like you said, she could have been just fucking barely seeing out of her eyes, texting, hey, can you, hang out? I really need somebody to talk to, and blah blah blah. Or she could have been sitting there, eating a piece of pizza, and laughing at whatever was on TV, saying, "Hey, you want to hang out? I really
Yeah.
kind of need somebody to talk to. This episode's good."
You ever heard of Tom and Jerry? Like some like, oh girl. Okay.
she's into. She's like, "Have you seen this thing called Scooby Doo?" Fucking kids.
I think Shaggy's like
So,
snorting weed or like acid or something.
I would totally be Scooby Doo.
Are you saying
He
you
just,
would, or are you Michelle right now?
I'm her.
Okay,
I'm
because
her.
your voice didn't really change when you said it.
Oh,
So
I was.
I was like, he sounds
Well,
excited to be Scooby Doo.
well, I've had a couple. This was really fun. I enjoyed our discussions, and I am willing to accept the fact that I probably look like a complete dumbass and idiot
Mm-hmm.
with any of my explanations of anything, because
Yeah,
I'm not good with words.
totally.
That's what you're here for. And so, anyways, I'm Troy.
And I'm the whole.